gathered here in the struggle and the power. That says it all pretty well right there. Good morning. I'm so glad to be back with you. It's wonderful to see everyone. And welcome to our Sunday service, our sacred time of worship together. I'm the Reverend Lucy Bunch, serving today alongside our Worship Associate Dawn Huebner. Reverend Roger returns on Tuesday, and he'll be in the pulpit next Sunday. Whether you're here in person or participating online, hi, Zoomers. We are so glad you're here. Wherever you are, whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we welcome you. And in the spirit of beloved community, we honor the Nisenan, Southern Maidu, and Miwok peoples for their enduring commitment to steward this land where UUSS exists. We recognize that they have never ceded, left, nor ceased to care for this place. If you're with us this morning on Zoom, please click on the link in the chat to view the order of service. There are so many ways to connect with this vibrant community. Each week we have tables in the welcome hall where you can get connected, fill out a newcomer's form to receive our weekly message. You can also do this online. The blue sheet, anybody have a blue sheet? The blue sheet is our weekly calendar of telling you what's going on and what is coming up. Today after this service, we'll have a time for those of you on Zoom to gather and get to know each other, and there'll be beverages and good conversation on the patio. And let's all make a vow to speak to somebody this morning that you don't know. Just say hi. That's all you have to say. And if somebody says hi to you, say hi back. And who knows what will happen after that. Is Hazel here this morning? There you are, Hazel. We have several important announcements to share today. And first I want to invite Hazel Watson to come to the pulpit. Hazel is an organizer for Sacramento area congregations together, one of our community and justice partners. I am.
Okay. Hi. I'm not only an organizer for Sacramento ACT, I'm your organizer for Sacramento ACT. You guys are assigned to me, I'm assigned to you. So I hope to be in relationship with you. I hope to be in relationship with as many people as possible. I will be saying hi to people I don't know. This election season, we are running a civic engagement campaign. Basically, that's our voter engagement campaign. Andy and Meg are working on that, so please talk to them about it. Talk to them about what they're planning. I believe they're planning some informational sessions and some information distribution to you guys. Please, if you are interested in getting involved, talk to me, talk to Andy, talk to Meg, okay?
So Andy and Meg, you should stand up. There they are.
They are wonderfully committed leaders at Sacramento ACT. You guys are very fortunate. We are also hosting a mayoral candidates forum on September 8th. That is a Sunday. It's at 3:30 in the afternoon. I understand you are having a ministry fair that day, but I swear it's 3:30. You guys should be done by then. It's at St. Peter All Hallows Church, which is on 14th and Stockton. So I hope to see you there. I have flyers. It's really helpful for us if you register. There's some links on how to register so we know how many people to anticipate coming. Thank you.
And the mayoral candidates will be focusing on their what they plan to do around housing and unhoused people. So given that's a focus for our congregation, I hope that many of you will attend and listen carefully. So I also want to share in our justice work about issues related to a camp that has been existed for about 2 years. It has about 50 residents. It's a group of unhoused people, and the city is planning on evicting them all tomorrow. This is an immense tragedy because it means that a lot of those people will lose all of their possessions. The police process for clearing an area is just to take everything. And you can only imagine, as a person that has nowhere to live, your few possessions mean your life to you. So if you live in the city, I encourage you to reach out to your city council person today after you get home from church, tomorrow morning, and tell them to call off the eviction, because there's opportunities here to provide social services for these people, help them to find pathways to housing. Wiping out their community does nothing but redistributing it to a different place. So I intend to call my city council person and tell her that she should be ashamed that that's what the city does to people. Takes away their possessions and wipes out the place that they've lived for 2 years. So I encourage you to do that. Our thank you. We're also engaged in a postcard and letter writing campaign to voters around the election. And out on the patio today will be our wonderful team of Joyce and Barbara and Pat with all the materials that you need and all the questions, all the answers to your questions. So far, we've written 2,100 postcards and more than 200 letters. So let's keep that effort going. Finally, I want to tell you that our Soul Matters small groups are starting up at the end of next month, and registration is open until September 2nd. This is a great way to make connections in the congregation and a great way to reflect on what's important, talk about and discuss what's important in community. We have a whole variety of themes, Soul Matters themes that match themes that we use in worship and in religious education. So Debbie Powell is going to be out on the patio, and there'll be a sign, and please register. It's great for people that are new to the congregation. You will make really close connections with people through this program, and I encourage you to register. So now let's take a moment to check on your cell phones, make sure that they're silent, watches or whatever you have that beeps. And if during the service you notice that your neighbor's phone is making a sound and they don't seem to know that it's happening or what to do about it, you can help them. This is what we do in community. So come now, let us enter into this place of sanctuary as a community of love and justice.
Good morning. Our chalice lighter today is Evan. The words are by Summer Abayadi, and it's called A Chalice Lighting for Liminal Times. In betwixt and in between, we move in the liminal spaces that show shades of what can become, what can be. We light this chalice as a symbol of courage to move into that time of this and that, and not this and not that, with patience and faith and love and hope that this time will pass like the sun that moves in between rising and setting, reminding us that beauty resounds in betwixt and in between.
Our kids have some fun peace games they're going to be playing together today. So let us sing them out to have fun. And if you want to go have fun, my feelings won't be hurt if you follow them out of the room. You got to put one foot in front of the other and lead with the front. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. You got to put one foot in front of the other. I don't remember the words to the verse, and Anthony's not here. Okay, so I forgot to mention during the announcements that our People of Color Caucus is having a gathering out on the patio. So if you identify with that title and that group, please join them. It's a wonderful, welcoming space, and we're glad that they're a part of our community. Let's take a couple of deep breaths together, because I need them. Well, I don't know about your experience with politics right now, but I found it was beautiful this week to hear our values so proudly on display, to hear strong words in support of kindness, justice, fairness. Some of us are having a burst of hope in our hearts, and hopefully we can ride that with our commitment on to the November election. But we come together in community in these times and in all times, sharing our joys and sorrows with each other, weaving together the strength of our community. It is good to be together. I have a few joys and sorrows that I want to share with you today. Terry Ray is recovering from gallbladder surgery after much pain and a lengthy 20-hour emergency room visit. So we send our healing thoughts and love to her. She may actually be home by now, and I hope that's true. Our beautiful pulpit has received a facelift from Kurt Schmidt. Kurt was the original builder of this pulpit, and he had a pulpit that was a much smaller one, and he grandized it, and it was gifted to us by the UU Community Church when they ended their time about 10 years ago and merged back with us. So it's had a wonderful facelift, and we wish it to continue to be a wonderful platform for sharing our values. Patricia Wenzel shares that a dear friend of her spouse, Leanna's, a co-worker, Cheryl, is in the hospital following not one, but 2 emergency surgeries and is in the ICU. They're asking for our healing prayers. Let us pause for a moment to reflect on those joys and sorrows and all those words that remain in our hearts. So during these times, and knowing that the next 10 weeks are going to be quite a roller coaster for us in a lot of ways, I have been offering you suggestions for grounding and stabilizing yourself. Some of you might have been here for the foot pedaling that we did. We've done humming, we've done breathing. Today I want to offer a guided gratitude meditation. And this is a wonderful way to just center yourself when you're feeling anxious or discombobulated. So I invite you, as you're willing, into this time of meditation and a practice of gratitude. First, I invite you to take a few relaxing breaths. Feel free to close your eyes if that is more comfortable, or leave them gently open. Breathe in a way that feels comfortable and relaxing. And feel your body in the chair. Feel your feet on the floor. And now I invite you just to pay attention to your body. If there's a place of tension or pain, imagine breathing your breath into that part of your body. Imagine your breath expanding that area of tension, and then breathing out, feeling the muscles release with the out-breath. Breathing in through areas of tension, breathing out, letting go of that tension or pain as you can. Now I invite you to bring your attention to your heart space, to your chest, or maybe to your abdomen if you prefer. Gentle breaths. Let yourself take in the awareness of anything that you're feeling, be it joy, calm, peace. If you're feeling sadness or grief or anxiousness, just be aware of it. Breathe alongside that feeling. Offer yourself compassion for whatever may be present to you right now. And as you continue to breathe, ask yourself if there's anything or anyone you're feeling grateful for. Is there anyone who is caring for you, showing you care, inspiring you? Anyone you love? Hold that person or those people, visualize them. Hold them in the gratitude that you feel for them. Breathe in that feeling of gratitude. Breathe out that gratitude. Now, as you take more breaths, imagine opening your heart space wide and asking what else you want to bring into this gratitude. Your friends, community, faith, our beautiful earth, places and spaces that have enriched you. Hold these things in your attention and breathe in that feeling of gratitude. Breathe in, imagining or holding in your mind those people, things, connections. And as you continue to breathe, take a moment to hold in your attention all the connections, all the relationships, all the gifts that you are grateful for. Breathe in gratitude. Breathe out gratitude. And as you are ready, as you continue to breathe gently, you can bring your attention back to this time, to your body, to each other, gathered together. And as we close, as you breathe gently, offer a word in silence or spoken, a word of gratitude for these gifts. Blessed be. Please remain seated and join together in singing number 83, Winds Be Still. It has become my tradition in the summer to re-preach a sermon that I feel is worthy of further attention. Our service today was originally done on October 25th, 2020, at the height of the pandemic and before we had a vaccine and right before the 2020 election. As you listen, memories may be stirred from that time, good and bad, but hopefully listening will enrich those memories or help you process things that you may still be holding on to. So here are my opening words from October 25th, 2020. Time seems to have changed since the pandemic started, slower or faster, depending. Or perhaps it has changed since the 2016 presidential election, endless or too fast to bear. This election is coming on quickly, and now time has slowed to a crawl. It seems like we will never get there. Or maybe time has stayed the same, and it is us that has changed. Time is straightforward and it is mysterious. It's part of our daily life. Tick, tock, tick, tock. It moves forward relentlessly. But time also slows down and speeds up. It's all relative. As Einstein famously said, put your hand on a hot stove for a minute and it seems like an hour. Sit with a beautiful woman for an hour and it seems like a minute. That's relativity. Humans have always had a complex relationship with time. So this morning we're going to explore two concepts of time used by the ancient Greeks, Chronos and Kairos. Chronos is the everyday time, the passing of the hours and days, constant and yet relative. Kairos is a moment in time, the right, critical, or opportune moment when possibility is ripe and action is called for. Both versions of time have relevance in our lives today.
Our first reading is appropriately from Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. If you want to reference it yourselves later, this is pages 74 and 75. The Hatter was the first to break the silence. "What day of the month is it?" he said, turning to Alice. He had taken his watch out of his pocket and was looking at it uneasily, shaking it every now and then and holding it to his ear. Alice considered a little and said, "The 4th." "2 days wrong," sighed the Hatter. The March Hare took the watch and looked at it gloomily. Then he dipped it into his cup of tea and looked at it again, but he could think of nothing better to say. Alice had been looking over his shoulder with some curiosity. "What a funny watch," she remarked. "It tells the day of the month and doesn't tell what o'clock it is." "Why should it?" muttered the Hatter. "Does your watch tell you what year it is?" "Of course not," replied Alice very readily. "But that's because it stays the same year for such a long time together." "Which is just the case with mine," said the Hatter. Alice felt dreadfully puzzled. The Hatter's remark seemed to have no sort of meaning in it. "I don't quite understand you," she said, as politely as she could. "Have you guessed the riddle yet?" the Hatter said, turning to Alice again. "No, I give up," Alice replied. "What's the answer?" "I haven't the slightest idea," said the Hatter. "Nor I," said the March Hare. Alice sighed wearily. "I think you might do something better with time," she said, "than waste it in asking riddles that have no answers." "If you knew time as well as I do," said the Hatter, "you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him." "I don't know what you mean," said Alice. "Of course you don't," said the Hatter, tossing his head contemptuously. "I dare say you never even spoke to time." "Perhaps not," Alice cautiously replied. But I know I have to beat time when I learn music. Ah, that accounts for it, said the Hatter. He won't stand beating. Now, if only you kept on good terms with him, he'd do almost anything you liked with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 o'clock in the morning, just time to begin lessons. You'd only have to whisper a hint to time, and round goes the clock in a twinkling, 1:30, dinner time. That would be grand, certainly, said Alice thoughtfully. But then I shouldn't be hungry for it, you know. Not at first, perhaps, said the Hatter, but you could keep it to 1:30 as long as you liked. Is that the way you manage? Alice asked. The Hatter shook his head mournfully. Not I, he replied. We quarreled last March, and ever since that, the Hatter went on in a mournful tone, he won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock now. A bright idea came into Alice's head. Is that the reason so many tea things are put out here, she asked. Yes, that's it, the Hatter said with a sigh. It's always tea time, and we've no time to wash things between whiles.
Has turned to gray, watching
Thank you. That was lovely. These were my words on October 25th, 2020. I've been struggling with time lately. I can't seem to get my calendar right. I put down a meeting for the wrong day or the wrong week or the wrong time on the right day. It's all a blur. It's a crazy time right now, and time seems crazy as well. It's as if we'd all gone down that rabbit hole with Alice. It's always 6 o'clock now, the Hatter said, or maybe it's always 10 a.m. I can't really tell. I know it does seem to be tea time all the time. After 8 months of sheltering in place with the added stress about the future, our sense of time is seriously muddled. And we're not all having the same experience of time. If you're an emergency room doctor, you might want time to slow down so you can take a breath. But if you're an elder alone, you want time to speed up. Every week seems endless, but it seems that time has passed quickly since the pandemic started, and we can't really remember much of anything in particular. Dean Buonamano is a professor of behavioral science at the University of California, Los Angeles. He explains that our loss of the sense of time is because of the sameness of each day. The running joke is that, we used to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but now it's just day, 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 day. We've sort of lost our mental landmarks or temporal boundaries for our days, he says. Our memory focuses on, to a large extent, novel events. And if you're not doing novel things, you're less likely to have those temporal mental landmarks. Humans used to have a vastly different relationship with time than we do now. For most of human existence, we measured time by the natural world, the rotation of the earth, the cycles of the moon. These were what created the structures of our days, our years. Hours came into awareness with the invention of the sundial and water clocks. And then came mechanical clocks in 1275. Their primary function was to ring the bells on the hour. Italians get credit for the clock face, which was introduced in 1344. But the minute hand was not added until 1657, almost 400 years later. Imagine life without the minute hand. And of course, you know where it went from there, to seconds, to nanoseconds, to alarm clocks, productivity measures, multitasking. Our culture has become time obsessed. But then the pandemic came, and it changed our relationship to time. There was a series in the Washington Post that had suggestions for coping with the time challenges during the pandemic. Their suggestions centered around weekly anchors that help you mark the days and give structure to time, such as work meetings, family calls, or visits. The suggestion was to schedule them at the same time each week to give added structure to your week. My spouse Nancy and I had lunch together every day during the pandemic, something that we never did in pre-pandemic times, and it became an anchor in our days. So once you have the regular life anchors down, add a few special items. Add a do-nothing time when you take a break from worry and stress, such as 30 minutes of deep breathing or sitting and rocking, or schedule a walk on Friday morning, or watch the birds. Intentionally take time more slowly. Intentionally keep negativity at bay. Add to these anchors something new each week. For example, make Thursday morning the time that you do something new. It doesn't have to be a big deal. A new food, a walk in a different neighborhood, a different TV show or podcast. Give yourself something to look forward to. While the pandemic has caused us to cope with our changing relationship to time, our challenges to time are not new. Time has been an enigma for humans throughout our history. Is it linear? Is it cyclical? It is everywhere and it is nowhere. Does it even exist? Did we make it up? As humans, as far as we know, our lives are bounded by our birth and our death, with all the seconds, minutes, hours, days, and years in between. Like sand in the hourglass, these are the days of our lives. But despite these limits, we have an awareness of the time before we existed and the time that will come after us. This allows us to see our own lives in perspective. One of the ways that I have been coping with the double whammy of the pandemic and the crisis in our democracy is to keep in mind the long arc of time. We are but a blip in human existence, let alone the planet's lifespan. I read recently that the Supreme Court in the early 20th century was very conservative and ruled against many cases that would have protected workers and given individuals more rights. And yet later in the 20th century, these rights were established. I found this strangely comforting. We have survived this before. Perhaps the arc of the universe does bend towards justice, eventually, with many twists and turns. But maybe it gets there. This gives me hope. Joanna Macy, the Buddhist author and wise woman, helped me understand this perspective of time in her book, Active Hope. I preached on her ideas a few years ago, and some of you will remember the dandelion spiral that I shared. She suggests that widening our time frame to both past and future can open up a sense of possibility. Many of the things that we take for granted today were considered impossible in the past. And I'm not just talking about smartphones or self-driving cars, but gay marriage, or even an end to slavery. There was a time when that was considered impossible. Can you imagine what might be possible in our future? She suggests that as we go about our daily lives, we consider the hosts of ancestors and future beings that surround us like a cloud of witnesses. Our ancestors are our allies. So what gifts and wisdom do they offer? And we can see ourselves as the ancestors of future generations. How does that change how we act now? Taking a long view helps us to see that we are part of this link of time through the ages and into the future. So as you go through these challenging times, do what you need to do to anchor yourself. And try to take the long view to help gain perspective on where we've come from and all the possibilities of where we are going. The pandemic will end. We will move on. Make friends with time. It's going to be with you as long as you live. I don't want you to end up like the Mad Hatter who quarreled with time, and for him, it was always 6 o'clock.
Generosity is a spiritual practice. This congregation has a practice of giving away half of every Sunday's offerings to an organization that is working to make a difference in the world. Our community partner for the month of August is Loaves and Fishes, the largest service provider for the unhoused in Sacramento. Loaves and Fishes has provided warm meals, essential supplies, and services to nearly 1,000 adults and children every day for the past 40 years. Once a month, on the fourth Monday, which happens to be tomorrow, UUSS volunteers help prepare and serve a meal to guests at Loaves and Fishes. If you're available to help, food preparation begins at 7:30, although the UUS crew especially needs volunteers for the serving shift, which begins at 10:30. If you can help, please contact David Paul, whose information is on the blue sheet. To keep their services barrier-free, Loaves and Fishes does not solicit or accept government funds, but instead are fully supported by private donations like ours. So thank you for your generosity to our community partner, Loaves and Fishes, and to UUSS. The morning's offering will now be given and received. As our ushers come forward, please join in speaking our unison words. May generosity bless our world, and may gratitude nourish our spirits. Our second reading is by Leslie Dwight. What if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow. a year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need for change, declare change, work for change, become the change. A year we finally band together instead of pushing each other further apart. What if 2020 isn't canceled, but rather the most important year of them all?
Now we turn to the other form of time as considered by the ancient Greeks, Kairos, or opportune time, the moment of possibility and transformation. The word has been traced back to two primary roots, one with archery and one with weaving. In archery, Kairos denotes the moment in which the arrow may be fired with sufficient force to penetrate a target. You can imagine that even if you don't shoot arrows, it's that moment when everything is in place. All the preparation and awareness, the sighting, the pulling of the bow, everything is needed to make that mark. In weaving, Kairos denotes the moments in which the shuttle, the piece that pushes all the threads together, is passed through the threads on the loom. This creates a lovely image. All the threads are in place and ready for that clunk of the shuttle, bringing all the threads together, creating a beautiful pattern and textures of the weave, a Kairos moment. Thinking of Kairos reminded me of the definition I've heard of luck, when preparation and opportunity come together. Luck is when preparation and opportunity come together. That means it's not a passive event. It doesn't just show up. It's when you've done the preparation and when you've opened your awareness to the opportunity. When these things come together, a Kairos can occur. I hope that you all have had a Kairos moment in your life when everything came together into a way that changed things. A Kairos can be like an epiphany, a time when an idea shifted to a new awareness, or it can be when an opportunity arose and you met it in just the right way. An example I think of this is our justice work. One of the challenges in doing this work is knowing how to speak up when you hear someone make an intentional or unintentional racist or ist comment. Those moments are hard for many of us. A Kairos would be when that opportunity arises and you know just what to say and you say it. Preparation and opportunity and a bit of courage create that Kairos moment. And all you need to do is say, ouch. On a grander scale, the Big Bang was a Kairos moment, the moment that universe began, but so was the creation story from the Hebrew scripture when God was sitting around being bored and got the urge to stand up and create light and darkness. In Christianity, the concept of Kairos means the time when God acts. The 20th century Christian theologian Paul Tillich considered Kairos to be a crisis in history which creates an opportunity, creates even a demand for human action. In the spirit of Tillich, I believe that the death of George Floyd under the knee of that policeman, gruesome as it was a Kairos moment. A moment where something shifted, where many white people saw what institutional racism looks like, feels like, what it does to people of color. a moment of awakening, and a moment with a call to action. In an even larger sense, I believe our world is poised for a Kairos moment right now, one with the possibility of great transformation. The reading that Dawn shared asked the question, what if 2020 was the year that we'd been waiting for? A painful year, a challenging year, but think of what came from it. Joanna Macy calls our Kairos moments a great turning, just like the agricultural revolution of 10,000 years ago. So much is in play now, so much possibility, so much crisis and brokenness. So much so that a transformation in consciousness seems possible. The creative possibility that we may find new ways to live together on this planet. Fine words, you might say, but I'm stuck inside during this pandemic. How can I participate in a Kairos when I can't leave the house? You are already participating. For Kairos to happen, there must be preparation. You must strengthen your arm, draw the bow, set your sight, get all the threads in place. This preparation is the postcard that you write to voters, the time you name your truth about the election to a conservative friend. It's your own increased awareness of what it means to have privilege as a white person. Macy says that if you look around, you will find evidence that our civilization is being reinvented all around us. What if 2020 was the year that we'd been waiting for? A powerful Kairos for our world, a kick in the global butt. A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forced us to grow up. A year that screamed so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year when we finally accept the need for change, declare change, work for change, become the change. Chronos marches on, but Kairos transcends. A time out of time. A time for possibility and transformation. Perhaps we are not living in the worst of times. Perhaps we are living in the best. So may it be. So will we make it be. So come and go with me to that land. Let's all rise in body or spirit, sing with gusto, sing with possibility.
to extinguish the chalice, please join in speaking our shared intention. We extinguish this flame, but we carry the light, love, and commitment of this gathering into the days to come.
Where'd my song leaders go? Come on up, Catherine and Barbara. More people up here, the better. Thank you so much for being with us today. Really appreciate it. Let's reach out to those around us. Let's reach out to the past, the present, and the future. The pandemic is over. We survived it. What are you going to do with what you learned? How are you going to change the world now that you know what is possible? What visions will you have for who we can be and how you can make a difference? Don't waste all that suffering. Let's do it.